Good morning. Today we are finishing up Unit 1 with CO10. I can apply the order of operations correctly with integers. So we're going to talk about those order of operations that we're using when we do that 5-card challenge in our math packets. So this is going to help you with your math packets. So to start with, let's think about this conversation that Mr. Schultz is having with Mr. Boyle. Mr. Schultz says, "Hello and good day, Mr. Boyle." Mr. Boyle says, "Greetings to you, my good man. Say, can you help me solve an equation?" Mr. Schultz says, "Well, I hope so. He is the math teacher." "What is it?" Mr. Boyle says, "It's 1 plus 4 times 3 equals 15. If I add 1 plus 4 first to get 5, then multiply by 3, my answer is 15. But if I multiply 4 times 3 first to get 12, then add 1, the answer is 13. Oh my goodness, he got 2 different answers. How does he know which one is correct? What do you think? Which one is the correct answer? Madeline?
13, because you have to multiply, do the multiplying first.
How do you know you have to multiply before you can add?
Well, aren't they both wrong?
One is correct and one is wrong.
Is the 15 correct?
Why?
Because if you add 1 plus 4 equals 5, then if you multiply 5 times 3 is 15.
So Madeline is saying we have to multiply first, and Ava is saying we just read from left to right, so we're adding first. What is the order of operations? It tells us the rules. What is it, Ruby?
Well, if you use PEMDAS, then it's parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division.
So Mr. Schultz likes to use PEMDAS, which is very similar to PEMDAS. So I'm going to show you what the difference is. We're just adding in the radical. So we know that the P, like Ruby said, is parentheses. The E, we learned about 2 days ago. That is exponents. The R we learned about yesterday. Those square roots we call radical. So square roots are the radicals. M is multiply. D is divide. A is add. And S is subtract. Now, in PEMDAS, we have different levels. Our first level, the first thing we do is we read from left to right to see if there's any parentheses. So if there are parentheses, we do that. If there's no parentheses, then we just go to our next level, which is exponents and radicals. So we have to go from left to right to see if there is whatever we hit first. If we hit an exponent or we hit the square root, whatever we hit first, we do. If there's no exponents or radicals, we go to our next level, multiplying and dividing. Doesn't matter if we hit the multiplication first or we hit a division first. We read from left to right. Whatever we find first, that's multiplying or dividing, we do that math. Then once we've done all that, then we can do going from left to right, doing our adding or subtracting. Whatever we hit first, doesn't matter if we hit adding first or we hit subtracting first, we read from left to right, whichever one we hit. So here is the problem that Mr. Boyle had. 1 plus 4 times 3. Do we have any parentheses?
No.
No. So now I go to my next level. Do we have any exponents or radicals?
No.
No. So I go to my next level. Do we have any multiplying or dividing?
Yes.
Yes. I have to do that first because it comes before adding and subtracting. So I have 4 times 3 is 12. I'm going to bring down my 1 plus because I couldn't do anything with that yet. Now there's no more multiplying or dividing, so I go to my last level, adding and subtracting. So 1 plus 12 is 13. So that is the only correct answer we could have because we have to follow the order of operation. We have to remember PRODAS. So how can the same equation have two different answers? Well, one of us did not follow the order of operations because we can't have two different answers for the same problem. Without the order of operations, one could, just like Ava said, oh, we're reading from left to right, we've got to do the adding first. But with the order of operations, we know that we have to multiply first. So there's only one correct answer. So I'm going to rewrite this that I put up there. I'm going to put it where it really should go in our notes, that order of operations. So I'm gonna nobody should be working ahead right now. We have parentheses, exponents, radicals, multiply, divide, add, and subtract. We don't just want to know what all those letters mean. We need to know which ones go together on the same level. So we've got parentheses, we've got exponents and radicals, we've got multiply and divide, and we've got add and subtract. It is super important to know which ones match up because then we know if they are on the same level, it's whichever one we come to first. Super important. So many times, if an expression has a minus and then an adding, people will add first. But it doesn't matter which one comes first. It doesn't matter that we say add, subtract. It matters which one we hit first when we read from left to right. If it's on the same level, it's whichever one we hit first. So if all the operations in the equation are on the same level, you work from left to right. So whether you hit subtract or add, whichever one you come to first, that's what the math we do. Even though you won't be able to use a calculator on this part of the test, we're going to use it in our assignment to check your answer. So make sure you enter the equation into your calculator exactly how it's written. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to write with our pencil and show our work. Then we're going to check it with our calculator. So let's look down to see what that's going to look like. So 8 plus 6 divided by 2. What am I going to do first? Sawyer. Yeah, 6 divided by 2 because division comes before adding. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. I'm going to bring down the rest of my equation. So you're going to write all this out. This is showing your work. So then 8 plus 3 is all that I have left. What is 8 plus 3? 11. So when we're going to check it with our calculator, let's look at what that's going to look like. So we're going to write it exactly how we see it on the paper. So we had 8 plus 6 divided by 3. Notice how they use the slash, that fraction bar, instead of the division symbol. It means the same thing. Yes? Oh, divided by 2. Thank you. Divided by 2. So 8 plus 6 divided by 2. What does that equal? It equals 11. Okay, that's how we check it, but you have to make sure that you write it in your calculator the exact same way you see it on your paper. So if you're going to use the calculator to check, you have to put in that equation exactly how it is on the paper, and then you can check to see if it equals. You have to show your work. I will not accept just seeing 11 for an answer. That will not count as you doing your work. Okay, so if I walk around tomorrow and I see you just have the answers, I won't accept it as an assignment completed. So to show our work, you have to show which levels you're doing, bring down the rest of the equation, and then figure out what the answer is. Some of our equations have multiple levels to them. So we're going to do the rest of these together. What is the first thing I'm going to do with parentheses 9 minus 4 times 10? What's the first thing I do, Zelda?
9 minus 4.
Yeah, I do my parentheses. Even though it's subtracting, it's inside the parentheses, so I have to do that first. So 9 minus 4 is 5. And then I'm going to bring down the rest of my equation. 5 times 10. So first I had to do 9 minus 4. I had to do my parentheses. Now I can do my next step, 5 times 10. And then if I use my calculator, we need to be able to do parentheses on our calculator. So I'm going to look to see where I have my parentheses button. I have my first parentheses, then I do 9 minus 4, my next parentheses, and then was it times 10? Times 10, and that equals 50. Layla. So when we're using that calculator with parentheses, you have to put the parentheses in the right spot. Because if we don't put the parentheses in the right spot, if we don't use them, the calculator will think we have to do 4 times 10 first. So you have to put the parentheses in to let the calculator know what has to happen first. Okay? So let's do our next one. 4 plus 1 plus 3 times 2. What's the first thing I have to do? Connor.
3 times 2.
I have to multiply first because there's no parentheses, there's no exponents and radicals, but now we have multiply. So 3 times 2 is 6. I have to bring down the rest of my equation. 4 plus 1 plus 6. Now what do I do next? Zelda?
You add the 4 and the 1, which gives you a 5, and then you add that with 6, and that gives you 11.
So I have to read from left to right. I have to go 4 plus 1, which gives me 5. Bring down that plus 6. So my answer is 11. Let's do our next one. What's my first step? Callie.
We have to multiply 2 times 3.
I have to multiply first because I only have adding and multiplying, and we know multiply comes first. So 2 times 3 is 6. I'm going to bring down the rest of my equation. And then I read from left to right because it's all adding. So I go from left, 5 plus 6 is 11. And then I'm going to bring down the rest of my equation. 11 plus 6 is 17. It's always a good idea to circle your final answers so we know what your final answer is. Do we have questions on how to do this? All right, so let me scroll up so we can see what our work assignment is. Some of these have lots going on in them. Let's look down at this one. Parentheses 10 plus 4 divided by 2 divided by 6. What's the first thing I'm going to do in that one? What do you think, Melanie?
4 times 10.
What? Are you on the same one we are? Yep, we're skipping down to a challenging one. Callie, what do you think?
Divide 4 divided by 2.
The first thing that we know we want to do is those parentheses, and then inside the parentheses, we have to follow our order of operations. So you are absolutely correct, Callie. We have to do parentheses, and inside that, we're going to do 4 divided by 2, which is 2. So that gives us 10 plus 2. So we're still inside parentheses, so we're still doing this. So 10 plus 2 is 12. Now we're going to bring down what was outside of the parentheses for us to do. So you have to do the parentheses following the order of operations, then do what's outside of the parentheses. Bring that down. So now we have 12 divided by 6, which is 2. So always do your parentheses first, and if we have multiple operations inside the parentheses, do the order of operations. Complete the parentheses, all the operations in the parentheses, then bring down what's outside of the parentheses and do the order of operations. Okay? The next section, you have to place parentheses in the equation to make it equal 27. Each one of these equations should equal 27. So let's look at this first one. Think about what numbers, if we're multiplying, what numbers should we multiply together to get to 27? What are factors of 27? What are the factor buddies? What times what equals 27? We know 1 times the number, so 1 times 27. I don't have a 27 in there or a 1. What else can we multiply together to equal 27, Zelda?
3 and 9.
3 times 9. Is there a way for me to make 3 times 9? Amanda? If I do 2 plus 7, I'm going to get 9. So that would be 2 plus 7 is 9, and then 3 times 9, which is 27. Okay, so you have to figure out what you're putting the parentheses around, so when we do our multiplying, it'll equal 27. And then the bottom of our page is review. Okay, because we have our test coming up, so we're reviewing all those objectives that we've already learned. Okay. So last objective for this unit, make sure as you're doing the time for review that you remember, you can use the number line when we're adding and subtracting with those negative numbers. Use the number line, it will help you. We have work time until it's picture time, and then we'll do work time until lunch. So if you're watching at home, we hope you're well. We hope to see you soon. Have a wonderful day.